All right, here we have Mr. Davis, science teacher at Brown Middle School, and he's just going to give his opinion in his own words on how we can help. Mr. Davis, during your college years, prior to the start of your teaching tenure, has your perspective on the educational system differed than it was originally?
I would say that my perspective, transitioning from college into actually teaching for 11 years, has changed somewhat, and this is my reason. Now, as a college student, you know, when you set out to go about it or go into the field of education, you look at it as having the opportunity to, you know, work with students, and you're not really thinking about all of the ins and outs that go into the job, like the students' conduct, problems that they might be having at home, other factors that are outside of what you're really learning in school, and dealing with those factors and try to curtail that to meet the students' needs and to do the best that you can to reach them. It's a lot of other things that go into actual teaching that has nothing to do with instruction. So by the time, you know, I felt like leaving college, as far as having the knowledge to actually instruct, I had that because I knew what the information was. It's a pretty good student, but it's learning how to deal with the other side of the teaching that you have to learn over time. That you don't really take into account before you actually get your own first class.
So actually, you had like a romanticized notion of what teaching was. You were going to come in and teach students, and you were going to learn and go on and advance in life, and you ran into a little roadblock along the way.
Correct, because I'm remembering when I was in school, even though I'm probably sure that our teachers might have had some of the same issues, as a student, you're not really looking at it from the other person's point of view. So the things that I remember about school were all good, even though you have certain people that will get in trouble, but I wasn't really. I remember most of the good things about this 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. You know, when I started out to teach middle school.
Sure. You've kind of answered the second portion of that same question. What level of educational impact do you see yourself accomplishing the here and now? As you're teaching these middle school students, how much of an impact do you feel like you're actually having right here in Brown Middle School?
I think that by and large, when I look at our students as a whole, most of our students are actually really good guys. I can say that. It's only a few, you know, that might have a few issues. But by and large, I would say about 90 to 95% of the kids, they can understand what you're talking about. You got to still take into effect that they're 12 years old. They do have some 12-year-old behaviors.
That's right.
But by and large, I think the majority of them are getting it. Now, the one thing that I would like to see is for them to take a little bit more ownership of what they learn. Because as you progress through school, nobody's going to consistently stand over you, okay, do this, I need you to do that. You're going to have to be able to develop some independence. And that's the one area of concern, because I see that many times we feel like you're forcing this education on them. Whereas sooner or later, nobody's going to force you. And then it's going to really be up to you to either I'm going to take this and run with it, or I'm going to sit it right here and be done. So that's my one real thing that I want them to actually kind of pick up before they actually move on to high school, that, you know, you have some individual accountability.
Yeah, absolutely. I wholeheartly agree, by the way. And you've actually answered the second portion of that question, too, about the percentages. Now, this is $1 million question here. What's the greatest impediment you feel like that the urban schools have? Because we both know that there's a disparity in the graduation rate of the suburban schools as opposed to the urban schools. Just from your personal experience, why would you say that is?
To be honest, I think it's more so having a foundation where you've seen people who have actually had success in school, and that you know how school actually translates to you doing well later on in life. A lot of kids, I don't think really see how the things that they're learning in school can actually lead into something that you do as a job or a career, because they don't have anybody to draw a lot of reference from. So example I was giving them, we were going over something, like studying something on nutrition. And I was like, did you actually know there's people who do this for a living? And they don't really have that kind of connection. So it's kind of like they're going through school, but not really looking at what is the overall big picture, because you don't have anybody to reference that has really done well in school in a lot of cases.
Sure.
And I think that's a lot of their problem.
So it's a role model that would place a value on education. Is that what you're saying?
Right. So like if I give you an example, like I try to explain to them, most all, just about all my friends, we kind of came from a situation might be somewhat better than kind of how they're living. But by and large, all of them, I can say are very successful. One's an attorney, one's a chemist, teacher, contractor. So everybody, even though they went into their own field, since I, met them like in 6th, 7th, 8th grade, everybody took or had somebody to follow behind. Like my mother was a teacher. My friend, who's a contractor, his dad owns a contracting company. So it's like having somebody to look up to and can guide you kind of on the right way to being successful. So one of the things I was thinking about, we might need to do some more, like bringing in people, African American people, to show them that if you follow these steps, this is where that can take you. Because I think a lot of times they're not at this age, I know for sure, are not really thinking about the bigger picture. And they need to be thinking about the bigger picture because it's right around the corner.
It certainly is.
It's right around the corner.
It certainly is.
Surveys in your classroom, please send them down to the main
You
office.
somewhat answered this question. I just want to broach it a little bit more in depth.
Okay.
The educational decision makers.
Okay.
What do you think if you were that person or in that group of people that can make a difference? They have the numbers. They know what's going on.
Okay.
They know, like I believe, that socio-economical circumstances have a lot to do with how a child. You just mentioned it. You said yourself that if you're in a certain socio-economical stratus, then you don't have the role models that you need to emulate to move forward, to place the value on education. So, is there anything that our government or that the powers that be from, I know you might not have this all thought out, but that they can do to help this situation along?
Probably, and I would say a lot, bringing in a lot of different type of mentors, people from maybe from the community, from the university system, to come in and start with the kids earlier than 6th, 7th, 8th grade. Start the kids while they're young and just kind of explaining to them all the different avenues you have to do things in life. Because many of us don't really, like I was saying earlier, many kids don't really see that there's many different ways that you can go, or many career paths or things that you can do in life. Like you might ask a kid, what do you want to do? He might say, okay, I want to play basketball. But they're not really even thinking about, okay, let's say if I don't make basketball, you still can be involved in basketball in many other forms of fashion. Just because you don't play, if basketball is your love, you got sports trainers, you got agents. There's many other things that they don't really understand, that you can take this direction if that's what your true ambition is.
And still be connected to it.
And still be connected to what you like to do, but not necessarily saying that you do this one particular thing. So opening up it's a big picture, and the kids don't really see it, because they look at success through a very small focus: rapper, basketball player, lawyer, attorney.
And when that doesn't happen, it's many other things in those realms of those things that they understand that you can do that they need to be exposed to. Let me ask you this question before I lose this thought.
Okay.
Because this is my wholehearted belief. Do you believe, because research tells us that when you take a child and give them experiences outside of their element,
Right.
that it opens up new horizons for them. And it sounds like that's what you're saying. If they knew that there's really something out there other than what they've already pictured,
Right.
and that they actually could be that person, maybe through dealing with a mentor that comes from the same socioeconomical background, somebody that had been in prison, somebody that only came from a one-parent family, but they became successful and had the same dreams. Do you think that if that would help place value where maybe they weren't getting that at home for whatever the reason may be?
I think it would, because then you have somebody that you can relate to, and if you see that this person can make it, and this person maintains a consistent mentor-mentee relationship, which I think that could actually help the student out a great deal. I'm not saying like you just, okay, let's say we got an attorney comes in and speaks to the kids one day, because then they're not really going to develop a relationship with that individual. But I mean more so of a consistent, you see this person, you might actually, have an opportunity to go to this person's office to see what they have to do, so that you can see that it is, the things that you do learn in school do have connections to other things in life. It's just not, I need to learn this just because my teacher wants me to learn this or my mother expects me to come to school to pay attention. It's a payoff in the end, but I just want them to really have all of the avenues as to where this payoff can actually go, just so that you don't limit your focus or limit what you're really trying to accomplish. Because right now, I think that many of the kids are not really looking at all of the things that can happen to you in life.
Sure. And this will be my last question.
Okay.
You saw that the work that the Ezra Project, I want you to speak directly about the work that you've seen that we try to do, we being predominantly me and whatever volunteers I've brought in at this point.
Okay.
What you've just described, do you think that that's the path that we're on, giving the kids more than just coming and giving them a speech? Do you think that the path that we're on, you see how often we're here at the school and so forth and so on, do you feel like that would have more impact than just coming and giving a child a rah-rah speech and then they never see you again? You're saying the continuity and establishing the relationship is really what helps? Yeah,
I think the fact that, you come up a lot, pull the kids out at lunchtime, sit them down, talk to them. I think it really has helped a lot of the boys. Some of them, needed a lot more help than other ones. But by and large, I think that was a helpful relationship for the ones that actually needed it. Now, if we take that to the next level where we start looking at maybe bringing in some people who do things that the kids have some interest in, I think that'll be the next step in making the program a lot better.
And I wholeheartedly agree.
Building those relationships so the kids that can see that somebody from the same area that I came from or a similar area could actually, through their education, make it to this goal. And that's the next thing that I want to see happen if we want to get the kids to actually have some experiences outside of just what they see in the neighborhood, because they need to mentally move away from that and see that it's other places, other things. Like kids were saying this as a kind of being funny or picking at a kid. He was like, man, you ain't never been to Decatur before. So then this boy, even though I was trying, Conyers or something, he was saying somewhere like that. And I was like, man, that's like 30 minutes away. That's not even really going far. But he had to defend himself. So at this point, he actually started naming all the places that he had been outside of the city. My pastor, he lives in such and such. I went over his house and we, did. So it's just opening them up for people, for them to have experiences and see that there's other things outside of your neighborhood. There's other jobs outside of the same things that they've been telling you since elementary school. There's many other paths to success. And they need to understand that moving forward so they can make some decisions and they can see that the stuff that you do in math and that you learn in science, you have to know that to do certain things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I thank you very much for your time. That was most informative, and we'll see you next year.
Okay, thank you.
All right, have a good day.